Hello. Alright. It's been a while, but hey. We all need to have some personal time sometimes. In this one, heading out west for a little while, heading out to the Dakotas, come across a Mandan museum. It's quite interesting, actually. I would have made this video sooner if I was able to find other links to help corroborate some of the information at the museum. However, it's somewhat difficult to come by for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I've been looking for 3 days, and the amount of information online about the Mandans is really pathetic. Anyways, getting back to where I was going. Unlike some of the more famous tribes, I say famous because most of the tribes of Clovis descent, or assumed Clovis descent, since now it appears Clovis came from Europe while another lineage came from Asia, which ended up wiping out the Clovis people that were here and populating the entire Western Hemisphere, essentially. What I find interesting is that the way that these people structured their villages, they were sedentary. They were not nomadic. They grew crops. They had livestock, mainly agricultural. It was more grains and vegetables, stuff like that. As far as meats, they sent out hunting parties and whatnot. But getting back to where I was going, and I have a tendency to ramble. What I found interesting was some of their cultural practices, as well as the basic layout of their villages. Now, the Mandans, obviously they were sedentary. They had permanent structures. Fairly similar in design, actually, to the Celts of ancient Europe. They're similar to the types of villages that the Romans would have come across in Gaul. Now, and they even had like palisades and everything for defense, similar to the Norse, actually. Which I found this very interesting. Very interesting. The similarities in the Celtic culture and the Mandan culture are, honestly, there's a fair number of similarities, which leads me once again to believe that there's a common cause of this. And that's where I'm going. Now, most of these longhouses, essentially, people who look on for Norse history or Celtic history, the majority of people lived in these longhouses with extended family and other tribesmen. Now, what's interesting is their marriage, their inheritance traditions. Now, within the damn it, come on. Okay. Within the tribe, they had separate clans. Now, each clan, they would essentially have their own okipa, ceremonial lodge. The okipa specifically was typically to the north side. On the west side, they would have a lodge for mats and buffalo hides and stuff. Now, as far as men go, we were essentially sent out to go hunting. We were sent to go and build. We were sent to go and dig ditches. When it comes to warfare, it was all on the men. Unlike Celtic and some Norse traditions, women, for the most part, didn't fight. It was only men. Now, what I found interesting is that when it came to marriage, I'm going to get into the whole courtship thing here in a few seconds. But when it comes to marriage, what happens is that the man goes and essentially moves in with his wife's family and within their longhouse. So he is essentially completely and utterly separated from his family as far as sleeping quarters go. Now, with inheritance, this is actually a bit more egalitarian. Inheritance can go from father to son and mother to daughter. That's actually very egalitarian, but it's kind of weird because only, unless otherwise specified, the father's holdings will go to his son. If he doesn't have a son, unless he specifies, it can go to his brother. Interesting note. Now, I'm going to read here. It was the duty of the clan to assist its own members, to care for the orphan children and its old people having no blood children. Older people who are invited to be fed and clothed by younger members of their own clan. The clan was a medium for the transfer of property when family died without leaving descendants. Now, where is it? Smallpox. Oh, yay. Wonderful European diseases, wiping out a whole bunch of people. Oh, yeah. Such a fun time in history. There we go. Each village was divided into a series of matrilineal inheriting or determining descent through the female line only. It's very Egyptian in this sense because, as we know, the pharaohs, the kings, were essentially determined by whoever married the one with the royal blood, and that was always deemed to be the female. So if you married the daughter of a pharaoh, you were going to be pharaoh. But what's more interesting is that it's also it's broken up into different sections. You have a exogamous group where certain men were forced, I'll get to that later, to marry women that were brought in from an outside tribe. And non-totemic clans that not necessarily bloodline, but people that were brought in. Each clan was composed of two or more lineages that were closely associated with the lodge groups. So, in short, there was a lot of cousin fucking. Now, when it comes to the lodges themselves, the big longhouses, and essentially the village itself, belonged and was owned by the women. All of the holdings in the lodge owned solely by the women. This included corn, storage pits, cooking utensils, bedding, dogs, harnesses, horses, gardening equipment, everything. Only stallions, the mares and the colts, the young horses and the female horses, that was all women. Only the geldings and the stallions, the male, or the men, or the male horses, belonged to the men. That's it. Yet the men were the ones that were expected to go out, die, be slaughtered, and pummeled to death with sticks and stones. Unless you're lucky and someone ends up going and counting coup on you. Odds of that happening are actually fairly slim. So don't count on it. As far as counting coup, that's essentially... Look it up. It's a symbol of bravery, actually. You run up to an enemy and you touch him with a stick. After that, you are given a feather or another token of bravery for going up and getting that close against an enemy who wants to kill you and not kill him. That's a whole nother tribe altogether, but still, nonetheless, a bit more civilized than what we have right now. Just a bit. Now, where is it? Here we go. Now, this is another issue as far as the Mandans that I personally I take umbrage with. Now, most of the marriages were arranged marriages. It doesn't mean that the young people involved that were being married, that their feelings and opinions weren't considered at all, but it wasn't fully up to them initially. That's the interesting part. Divorce in itself, once again, essentially no-fault divorce, was very easily, all a woman had to do was walk into another man's tent and screw him. Elopement, even of married people, and I'm quoting this, elopement, even of married people, did not cause much of a stir unless both parties had children. A man who lost his wife by elopement, meaning she ran off, you're going to love this, would usually receive gifts from the relatives of the man who had taken his wife. Essentially, they were saying thank you to him for not killing the skank. Then, in turn, he was expected to give his unfaithful, cheating cunt of a wife brand new clothes, a new fine horse, all in an effort to show that he was not above jealousy over a woman. Oh, yes. Does this really sound like the patriarchal society that a lot of feminists claim that the Native Americans observed or had? No. Nowhere close. On top of that, there were 3 different types of marriages based on the class or the stature of the individuals within the society itself. Now, as we know, apparently women in this culture can cheat, and by cheating, they are rewarded. Now, as far as the marriage ceremonies, this one I like best. The father of the daughter that is to be married chooses the husband. Okay? Now, what's interesting is that the female in question actually has a choice. It's essentially who she chooses for the most part, not in all cases. I gotta specify that apparently. But what they do is that they then take a white buffalo hide from the rare albino buffalo that is occasionally seen and then killed for ceremonial purposes, and then the hide is kept and cared for as long as humanly possible. Well, what they would do is that they would then take this white buffalo skin and drape it over the boy's shoulders. And from that point on, he had no choice in what was going to happen. Wow. Sounds like a matriarchal society to me, but that's just me. Anyway, now, a wedding of the highest order for the people at the top of society essentially demanded that the groom give as many valuable presents, and that is very specific. It can't just be something that you can go out and get and chip away. Or, it has to be something of great value. All right. The groom would have to give away many valuable presents to people owning rights in this father's bundle. Essentially, your bundle is in a way like a dowry. I guess it's the easiest way I can explain it. And the bride's parents, here we go, would give the young man an albino buffalo skin as disposed of according to which bundle was owned by the father. Yeah, not much of a choice there. I'm gonna leave some of these links so you can go and check them out yourself. But from this, I decided I was going to go and look into other things. Now, since most inheritance, land, as well as the lodging and essentially the village itself, was owned solely by women, I was curious, how common is this amongst native tribes? And so, what did I do? I did something completely retarded. I went and I tried to find the most manly, the toughest, the most aggressive tribe out there that I could think of. The Mohawks of the Iroquois Confederation. I say that because I live in the land of, or the land formerly owned by the Huron tribes, specifically the Wyandot Indians. Now, when I was looking around, come on, hurry up. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, sometimes things go a little slow. While looking into the Mohawks and the Seneca, well, essentially the Iroquois Confederation as a whole, I find the roots of modern American feminism. Oh, I wish I never opened that damn page. Interestingly enough, feminism.com, which is where this is found, and if anyone of the Iroquois Confederation or their descendants have a problem with this information, take it up with the people at feminism.com. Okay, I'm just at this moment I'm essentially parroting. Now, as far as some of the issues so many of us are dealing with, here we go. This is a really long video, and I apologize. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, called a heretic and worse for advocating divorce laws that would allow women to leave loveless and dangerous marriages. Oh, excuse me. She admired the model of divorce. She admired the Iroquois style of divorce. And separate, and I quote, "No matter how many children or whatever goods he might have in the house." In short, the Iroquois style of divorce is essentially the man gets nothing, no matter how much he has put into it. All right. Now, Stanton informed the National Council of Women Convention in 1891, the, and I quote, luckless husband or lover who was too shiftless to do his share of the providing in an Iroquois marriage might at any time be ordered to pick up his blanket and go. And after such an order, it would not be healthful for him to attempt to disobey. In short, if she said get out and he said fuck you, I built this place, everything in here is mine, his life would essentially, or could essentially, be forfeit. This does not sound like the Mohawk Indians that so many people have talked about. This sounds very scary. This is a matriarchal nightmare. Now, I want to continue and finish up here momentarily. While early women's rights activists began to be successful in changing laws, the ensuing backlash of the 1870s, In short, there were men that had gone through the Civil War only to come out on the end to have a whole bunch of raving, bitching, lunatic women go and get whatever the hell they want. And then after the men came back from the war, put up with it for a few years, and then told the women, go get fucked. I'm tired of listening to your rotten crotch ass. Now, the backlash in the 1870s resulted in the criminalization of birth control and family planning. And the most egregious offense, that child custody remained the right of the fathers. The issue they had, and the reason why they were wanting to go and implement Iroquois Confederation practices, they were able to go and use the Iroquois as an example. It was something to be seen. It wasn't something that was just a figment of someone's imagination. It wasn't hypothetical. It was something that could be seen. It was something that could be quantified. All right. Now, with all of this, she still wanted control of the children, no matter what. Control of the kids, control of all the assets. That is what they wanted. They borrowed it from the Iroquois Confederation. And it goes on, remains rights of father. How then did Stanton and her daughter Harriet envision voluntary motherhood? A revolutionary alternative to the patriarchal family, with women controlling their own bodies and having rights to the children they bore. Well, a short distance from the Stanton home in Seneca Falls, the Seneca women of the Iroquois Confederation practiced such things. I'm going to leave this link in the description box, and I believe you might find it extremely interesting that essentially, I mean, keep in mind, women of the Mohawk Nation within the Iroquois Confederation, only the women could vote on the chief. Only the women had a say in that. They were the only ones who held the ownership of the land. The men were servants. The men were slaves. Once again, we go and see this pattern of behavior within the female of the species. Why is this important? Well, it's simple. We see this over here in Native America. All right? We see this in Europe. We see this in the Middle East. We see this in Asia. We see this in Africa. These same patterns over and over again. the placement of women above men within a culture, and the dismissiveness of the feelings, emotions, cares, or physical being of the men. At every opportunity, it seems, in history, at every corner of the globe, this seems to be a common thread throughout our entire damn species. This is why I think MGTOW is a wild card. I've said this a couple times in having a number of conversations, well, through type and the comment section of a number of different videos. Not really mine, but others. Now, MGTOW is a wild card. At no point in time ever in history were so many people able to go MGTOW at one time. Not so many people around the world realize how many other men were going through the same crap they were. We can change the entire dynamic. As stated in a conversation I had a while back, not too long ago, within the last 24 hours, is that Christianity was there, the Jewish traditions of Christianity was there during the fall of Rome. Those patriarchal Jewish traditions is later what became the foundation of Western civilization and of Western culture. And that is from a high sense of moral authority, of discipline, of Today, the only thing that is about that size and that could have that much of an effect on a global scale is Islam. And simply for essentially the same reasons is why it was Christianity when Rome collapsed. Keep in mind, Islam didn't exist for a few hundred years after Rome collapsed, so it just wasn't there. Now, with that, there is Islam as the predominant patriarchal countermeasure to Western politically correct feminism. But now there's MGTOW. MGTOW can help create a paradigm shift in what it means to be a man. It can be a paradigm shift into what it means to be masculine and how we gauge masculinity. But I've rambled on long enough. I'm going to leave the links in the description box. This isn't just a Western thing. This isn't just a European thing or a Middle Eastern thing. This is species-wide.